Hello, this is the patient teacher here to help you learn English from all around the world. So I want to say welcome in Japanese.
ようこそ
And as well, I want to say welcome in Korean.
환영하다.
And por los Latinos. I learned to speak Spanish so I could speak with people around the world, and now I want to help people learn to speak English. I've been inspired by one of my students, and she's reinvigorated my interest in teaching, so I hope to put my lessons on the internet for people to watch and learn the language. To learn English as quickly as possible, you need to learn the basics, and then from the basics you can build and learn more, and then you can learn to speak and read and understand other people speaking English much faster. So let's begin with the articles. There are 3 articles that we need to be aware of. One is a general for things. So we start with a book, a table, that type of thing. Now, if the noun begins with a vowel, then we use an, as you can see here, an, because it gives it a little sound and it sounds better. You'll find often the reasons we do things in English are because they sound better. English is a new language. So we say a book, an egg. And then if we want to be specific, we will use the man I just saw, the woman I just introduced you to. And for things like countries, there's no article. We just say Japan, Korea, with the exception of if it's a kingdom, we'll say the United Kingdom. There's a couple other exceptions, but that's it for articles. Next, we'll go to subjects. Singular means one, and plural means 2 or more. So we have first person, second person, and third person for both singular and plural. So we will say I, and then you, and then she or he. So you can see first person is the one speaking, second person is the one you're speaking to, and the third is more of another, right? It's more over there. So first person plural would be we. And then second person plural would be you, indicating 2 or more people. And third person plural would be they, meaning 2 or more people. Okay? Now the first word we want you to remember is called infinitive. But it simply means when we have 2 and a verb. So you can say to eat, to run, to read, right? And then the gerund will be the verb plus ing. Notice no to, right? There's no ing in the infinitive, and there's no to with the gerund. They're 2 separate and used differently. So sometimes people, when they're beginning, mix this up. Don't mix them up. Now, why is this important? For this reason. I'll put a link in for this one. When you say something after the verb want or need, you must use the infinitive. I want to go to the exhibition. I need to do my homework. Do you understand? But when we have other verbs like enjoy, after enjoy, you must use the gerund. So you will say, I enjoy watching this movie. And it doesn't matter the tense. You could say, I enjoyed watching that movie. It depends on the verb, and there's a whole list of the verbs where you must use the infinitive, and a whole list of verbs where you must use the gerund. And then there are 5 verbs where you can use either. And they are like and love and 3 others. Okay? So you can say, I like to teach, or I like teaching. There's no difference, but only for those 5 verbs that I mentioned. All the others are either going to be infinitive that's followed from the verb or the gerund. Okay? Now, let's go to questions, and you'll see that there's 5 W's. To ask a question, you use the 5 W's. And I like to put them in order because they're easier to remember. Who, if you're asking a question about a person. What, if you're asking a question about a thing. Where, if you are asking a question about the place. When, for a question about the time. And why, if you're asking about the reason. There are also 2 other words we use to ask a question, and they are how and do. Once again, we use do quite often because it makes the question sound better. Okay? How often do you take English classes? Do you like the teacher? Do you see how much better that sounds than you like the teacher? And that's why we use do. Okay, so there's those 5 W's plus how and do. Okay? Now, here are where we start explaining the basics. There are 3 verb tenses. Make sure you remember the things that I'm saying very clearly. Don't get them confused. 3 main verb tenses. Present, if you're talking about something that's happening right now. Past, if it's happened before now. And future, if it's going to happen after now. And future will always be will plus the verb. Okay? Now, there are 2 different types for each of the 3 main tenses. There's simple, where you just have the verb. For example, eat. And continuous, which is much different than simple. Now, how do we do continuous? Watch. Very simple, but make sure you don't confuse it. We use some form of the verb be. And then we add the verb with ing. So, for example, simple, I eat eggs every day. But continuous would be, I am eating eggs. So you can see that they're quite different, both in how they sound and how they're used. So we'll do more of that in the future, but keep in mind, 3 tenses, 2 types. So that adds up to 6 verbs. And then in part 2, we'll show you perfect tenses, which also have 6 verbs, and that will bring us to 12. Okay? Now, parts of speech. Just like the parts of a car or the parts of anything, right? So there are 8 of them, but I'm only going to show you the 5 most important ones now. A noun is a person, a place, or a thing. There's only 3 things in this whole world: people, places, and things. Okay? So, for example, a phone or a book or a pen would be a noun. And an adjective describes the noun. Okay? You can say the red USB, right? or the blue pen, or the white cup. Those are all adjectives. They're describing the noun. Simple. Now, a verb is an action, something you're doing, okay? You go somewhere, you do something. And the adverb describes how you're doing the verb. And they most often have ly at the end. Slowly, quickly, okay? Two exceptions are fast and hard. They can be adverbs without an ly. And the last one is prepositions, okay? The four most important prepositions are in, on, to, and at. And I'll put a link in for more description on that. Okay, so I'll leave it there. I'll put a link in for this page, and you can read this page. And then I'll do part 2, and hopefully people will tune in to read that. And we can learn English day by day and help you learn quickly. So bye for now from the patient teacher.